Test 1 2 3 4. Test 1 2 3 4. Testing 1 2 3 4. Testing. Test 1 2 3 4. Test 1 2 3 4. Hey Chris, you can kill that mic. Thank you.
You want me to hit join? Oh, wait a minute. Join. You need to join. Cancel.
That's yours.
They can get in?
Yeah, there should be.
Okay.
I'm trying to understand it.
We all in now? All in. You ready?
Yes.
You
You
ready?
want me to do that?
Everybody ready?
You got that?
You told me we got to turn on the podium mic.
Oh. Okay. It went on.
We had it on. Yep.
It stayed that time. Okay. Meeting will please come to order, and I'll ask Mr. Mitnick to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Thank you, Mr. Mitnick. Next, we need Mr. Waller, a certification of closed meeting.
Resolution of certification of closed meeting on February 26, 2020, pursuant to section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia, 1950 as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Board members, please vote. Motion carried.
First order of business is action on closed meeting items. Personnel report, Dr. Buck.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the personnel report as presented.
Is there a second?
Second the motion.
Board members, please vote. Motion carried.
Next is the approval of the agenda. This is an action item. Oh, excuse me, skip something. Pupil personnel report, Dr. Buck.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the pupil personnel report as presented.
Second.
Board members, please vote. Motion carried.
Next item is the approval of the agenda. This is an action item.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
The second.
Second.
Board members, please vote. Motion carried.
Next, we have public speakers on agenda topics, citizen comments. Michael Downs. Michael Downs. Any others? Being no others, we will move on to reports by the superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, we'll call up our Community Engagement Officer, Ms. Antoinette Ward, to give the good news report. Ms. Ward?
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and School Board. So we'll start tonight with recognizing our school board members for School Board Appreciation Month. So our Virginia School Board Association has designated the month of February as School Board Appreciation Month, and the theme this year is Excellence Through Equity. The theme represents the top priority of our school board members as they advocate for public education with local, state, and federal leaders on behalf of all students. This month is an opportunity for us to recognize the crucial role our Suffolk Public Schools board members have in our school division and our community. So we do want to thank you all for all that you do. And we do have a token of appreciation to share with you this evening as well.
So we actually have several gifts that we would like to give to our school board members to show our appreciation. First is some authentic new Suffolk Public Schools gear. Also, Ms. Gardner also has pictures that we have framed of the school board, and we also have commemorative pins notating how many years you all have served on the school board. So we want to thank you all for all that you do, for advocating for Suffolk Public Schools, and we would like to celebrate you all each and every month, but this is the official month right here, so we wanted to give some things to you.
Isn't that nice? Whoop, put that down there. Thank you, thank you. Isn't it beautiful?
All right, once again, thank you all. Also, in recognition this month, we are going to show appreciation for our school board clerk. So our School Board Association has designated the third week in February, the 18th through the 22nd, as School Board Clerk Appreciation Week. The school board clerk plays an important role in assisting our school board members, superintendent, and local schools, as well as serving our administrators, staff, students, and community. Even though showing our appreciation should be year-round, we want to recognize Tasha Gardner, our school board clerk, for her outstanding hard work, dedication, and commitment. So for those of you who don't know, just a little background on Ms. Gardner. She is originally from Brooklyn, New York, but she graduated from John F. Kennedy High School here in Suffolk, class of 1984. Before her role as school board clerk, Tasha spent the past 19 years in various other roles within Suffolk Public Schools, including a teacher assistant and an administrative assistant. And just a few fun facts about her: she enjoys fun activities like fishing, spending time at the beach, spending time with her family, especially her 16-month-old grandson, Carter. She enjoys running. She's completed a half marathon and a Surf and Santa 5-mile race, along with various other races. She is pretty active. Thank you for all that you do as well, and we also have a little certificate of appreciation for you.
That's right, and as Ms. Gardner's coming down, we also gave her a nice bouquet of flowers, but we gave it to her last week. Didn't want them to go bad, you know, we moved the meeting from the snow, but Tasha, on behalf of the board and all of the staff, we just want to thank you for how you hit the ground running. She's done a tremendous job, very, very thorough, and we love her professionalism, and just she's such a great benefit to the team. So here's a little token of appreciation from the board for you.
Thank you.
Got to turn for the picture right there. You got to
And I'd like to add, I started working with Tasha back in November, and the first time I really had interaction with her was at the VSBA conference. She went up there with us, and I think that was the beginning of her job. And she went for training for clerk. She did everything she was supposed to do, and every morning, bright and early, while we were at the conference, I'd get a text message and say, Ms. Byram, you need to be so-and-so, or you need to be there in 10 minutes, or she kept us on point. And she's doing an outstanding job, and I enjoy working with her, and we've been on the phone quite a bit and emailing each other back and forth. She says there is a learning curve. And there's a learning curve for everything. And she's well aware of that. I think it only took her a couple of days to figure that out. But anyway, she's doing a fantastic job. I enjoy working with you, Tasha. And the board appreciates what you do for us every day. Just before we came out here, she was keeping us on point for the Tidewater Regional. She was asking us about the state of the city. And, she keeps our calendars, and she keeps us motivated and moving. And I see why now, So when she's running around, I understand now she's performing and getting in her training for her runs, okay?
That's right.
But anyway, thank you so much, Ms. Gardner. Thank you very much. Dr. Gordon?
Yes, ma'am. Our next piece of our good news report is our Believers Church school lunch debt donation. And we are just so thankful, as we all know, the importance of school meals for our students. As you can see here on the screen, Believers Church, located in Suffolk, Virginia, held their in-year fundraising called The Gift. And $40,000 was donated to Suffolk Public Schools to bring relief and reduce financial pressure from students and their families. As of November 2019, lunch debts were paid off for the following schools: Northern Shores, Creekside, Florence Bowser, Colonel Fred Cherry, John Yates Middle, and Nansemond River High School. Just outstanding. So on behalf of Suffolk Public Schools and as a representative from Believers Church, we have Miss Rochelle Cheeks, who is here. And the amazing part is they actually raised the money only within a couple of months. So Ms. Cheeks, if you wouldn't mind coming towards the podium, Ms. Antoinette Ward, I believe, has something that we would like to present to you on behalf of Suffolk Public Schools to say thank you. Anytime that we can have partners such as this, especially with the generosity that you all have shown, really shows us about the strength of community here in the city of Suffolk. So thank you so much for all of your donations and all of your hard work to helping our kids relieve their lunch debt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next, yes.
All right, so the next item of good news that we have tonight is the COPS School Violence Prevention Program grant that we received. So Suffolk Schools joined only one other school division in the state of Virginia to be awarded the 2019 COPS School Prevention Program grant in the amount of $405,648 from the U.S. Department of Justice. Included in the approved items are inside and outside cameras for all of our elementary schools, communication improvements, and training materials for active shooter response situations.
That's right.
Definitely something to celebrate there. Now, the grant award is to provide additional security-related improvements to our school division, and it is a result of a collaborative effort during the application process between student services, technology, and the purchasing departments.
Definitely, it's excellent. One second, Ms. Ward, before we move on, I just want to do a special recognition to Mr. Anthony Hines and Mr. John Littlefield for their work on this COPS grant. That amount of money is really going to help to improve overall security in our school division, especially at the elementary level. So thank you, gentlemen, for all of your hard work in obtaining that money for Suffolk Public Schools.
That's right. And, I ditto that. I think, the team effort, that's what we all are about. And it shows up here. We're getting a lot of good grants and a lot of things, and we don't even have a grant writer. But I know a lot of you are busy every day finding things that can help us. And we really appreciate it. We really do. And we're going to see more of this, I'm quite sure. And since this gentleman has come on board, I've seen quite a lot. And so I'm looking for more. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right, now to also celebrate tonight, we have the Florence Bowser Centennial Contribution Fund. So, as you all know, or may not know, Florence Brickhouse Bowser attended Virginia Normal and Collegiate Institute, which is now Virginia State University. She taught in a section of Suffolk now known as Nansemond County. Now, her goal was to improve the quality of education for all with a focus on equity and literacy. A quote from her says, "I have organized a school improvement league, which is 15 months old with a bank account of $105 and $12 in the home treasury. We have also enhanced $6.18 raised by the children for the purpose of purchasing a library." So she's always been an advocate for education in her community. In 1920, Florence Graded School was built, and this year, to celebrate 100 years, her granddaughter, Karen Childs, generously donated $7,000 to support the world of elementary education within Suffolk Public Schools. So we certainly want to extend a thank you to Florence Bowser, to her family and extended family, for their commitment and dedication to equity in education, and especially to her granddaughter, Karen, for continuing her legacy. Now, moving to the next item of our good news report, we want to recognize Ms. Annette Buchler, the CEO of the OBC Healthcare Foundation, and Sarah Taylor, the program officer for the OBC Healthcare Foundation, for their continued partnership and commitment to our students. We actually have Ms. Sarah Taylor here tonight to say a few words.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for inviting us to kind of be here tonight and take a minute just to talk a little bit about the work of the foundation, but I think more importantly to talk about the good things that are happening through partnerships much like the one we have with Suffolk Public Schools. Many of you are familiar with the work that the foundation has done throughout Western Tidewater over many years in an effort to enhance the health of the residents that live here, including the city of Suffolk. In 2018, the foundation really took a step back and took a look at how we were doing our grant making. And really what we wanted to do was become a better partner to the people and to the agencies in the communities that we serve, and really do our best to take a look at doing what is collaborative grant making. And so as we began doing that, one of the things that we did is we began doing funding in all areas of the social determinants of health. One of those being early childhood education. So in this past school year, we were able to implement the Stream in 3 pre-K curriculum into 65 classrooms throughout Western Tidewater, including all of the pre-K classrooms here in the city of Suffolk. As part of our early childhood education work, we're huge believers in the Summer LEAP program and are very happy that we can continue to fund that, and have even kind of become an endeavor to do some planning work around kindergarten registration and our next steps with early childhood education. So in a minute, Ann McCoy is going to talk a little bit more, but you're going to hear a little bit about some grants that we've been able to fund through healthy behaviors. First and foremost, my hat's off to the team that has been working on these initiatives. You'll hear a little bit about programs that are going to benefit the employees that work for Suffolk Public Schools, and by doing so, they take that home to their families and the extensions of their families. but also things that are going to benefit the children that are in the schools by giving them increased access to physical activity and the ability to play. So thank you for having us here, but more than that, thank you for being such a wonderful partner as we all continue to try to do good work. Thank you very much.
One thing,
Yes, ma'am.
you know I'm going to have to say this.
I know.
This is a former Nansemond River graduate right here, Sarah,
I am.
product of our school system, and I know her well. Thank
Yep.
you for all the work you're doing. I've spoken to you many
Absolutely.
times about this, and the Suffolk, the Oversea Foundation has done so many things, and we hope we can continue this partnership.
We look forward to things to come. Thank you,
Right.
Ms. Byram.
You're welcome.
Ms. Ann McCoy?
Good evening. Good evening to Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, school board members, and Dr. Gord. My name is Ann McCoy, and tonight I'm representing the SPS Employee Wellness Program. And we are indeed excited to announce to you the award of a 3-year, $100,000 per year wellness grant from the OBC Healthcare Foundation. Our partners, the American Diabetes Association, Franklin Health Department, Centera OBC Hospital, Old Dominion University Center for Global Health, and Suffolk Health Department will assist us in executing a socially based wellness program that meets the needs of our bus drivers, cafeteria staff, and custodial workers, and their dependents. Each will have the opportunity to participate in multiple large-scale events with their dependents, receive newsletters, and participate in training to promote community wellness. We also want to announce an additional grant through the OBC Healthcare Foundation for Booker T. Washington Elementary School for $50,000 to provide a modern, specific, inclusive playground pieces for students in pre-K through 5, along with pathways for accessibility to the already planned playground. So indeed, we have a lot to be thankful for the OBC Healthcare Foundation. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you again to the foundation and all that you all do for Suffolk Public Schools. The final item on our list this evening is another grant that we have received, the VCU ACE grant, which is the Virginia Commonwealth University Autism Center for Excellence grant. I'll have Ms. Stephanie Whitley to come up and speak.
Good evening. I'm happy to be here tonight representing the Special Education Department with my supervisors, Ms. Julie Masters and Dr. Kelly McPherson. And I think I speak for my team when I say that we're very excited to be sharing this portion of the Good News Report with you tonight. After a rigorous application process, Suffolk Public Schools has been awarded the VCU ACE Technical Assistance Grant, and we've been chosen to take part in the VCU Autism Center for Excellence Exemplary Services to Students with Autism project. The project will begin in March and will continue for 3 years through May 2023, with the potential of 2 additional years of follow-along as we work together through the 5 phases of implementation. Through a bottom-up, top-down, division-wide embedded technical assistance process, the VCU ACE Technical Assistance Associates will assist the division in completing a self-assessment and facilitating a division-wide Autism Services Improvement Team to develop an Autism Services Improvement Plan. This plan will provide database targets and define the exact technical assistance and training activities that will take place in the division. The VCU ACE Technical Assistance Associates will facilitate the team and guide the development of our plan to result in systems change across the division. The plan will provide a coordinated approach to division-wide systems change, professional development, coaching, mentoring, and service improvement that may include goals to address professional and paraprofessional development, improvement in classroom implementation of evidence-based practice, implementation of interdisciplinary teaming, and improvement of family involvement and support. We are thrilled to have this opportunity, and we look forward to working with the VCU ACE Technical Assistance Associates to improve our practice and our outcomes for not only our students with autism, but for all of our students with disabilities. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Dr. Buck, you have some comment on that, I'm sure.
You know I do.
Oh, yeah.
You know I do.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about that. I think it's wonderful. Great job, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys are doing. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. I want to take a few moments to discuss some of our calendar of special events as we were planning for March 2020. As we've already discussed, School Board Appreciation Week. I hope everyone has had the opportunity to take a look at the highlights of our school board members that we've had throughout social media. Still a few more to come for the remainder of the week. As Ms. Ward already mentioned, this is School Board Member Appreciation Month, School Board Clerk Appreciation Week as well. This is also African American History Month. I know that tomorrow I will be at Lakeland High School. Some students have put together an outstanding African American History Week that I want to go take a look at. National Career and Technical Studies Month as well, February 2020. National School Breakfast Week. I know that Dr. Whiting and his team is very excited as we're going to have some potentially new things that we have our kids taking a look at, but also to reinforce the importance of breakfast to get the start of the school day out for our students. All City Chorus, 2 o'clock p.m., Kings Fork Middle School on March 7th, 2020. Talented Music with Virginia Symphony Orchestra, Young Performance Series at Kings Fork High School on March 17th, 2020. All City Orchestra, 7 o'clock p.m., Kings Fork Middle School on March 20th. Red Cross America Giving Day, March 25th, 2020. Youth Art Month Festival, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Lakeland High School on March 28th. All City Band, 2 o'clock p.m. at Kings Fork High School, also on March 28th. As Ms. Ward mentioned earlier, one of the focuses for VSBA is the month of March will be Equity and Education Month. I am also being highlighted for an Equity in Action podcast to kick off Equity and Education Month for the VSBA. And March is also Youth Art Month. As I was explaining to the board earlier, from our logo contest, our youth art for our school logo contest winners is now in the stairwells of the school administrative office. Again, thank you to Mr. Hines for making that happen. This will continue to encourage all of our staff to take the stairs to see these great logos that we have really celebrating the art of our students. The month of March is very, very busy, but we also know that we're going to celebrate each and every one of these activities for March 2020. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, and, you know, I look at this list, and I'm so proud, and I'm sure everybody sitting up here is just glowing, you know. What can we expect next? That's my question, you know. What can we expect next? We're looking for bigger and better things. Thank you, Dr. Gordon, very much. Next, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Looking at those items, this is an action item.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Board members, please vote. Motion carried.
And under, my thing went, this arc here. Okay, under new business, moving to new business. The first item is the superintendent's proposed budget. Dr. Gordon?
Yes, ma'am. I am actually going to move down to the podium because I want to be able to address the board properly before I bring Ms. Forsman up to help us present with the budget. So give me 1 second. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a very exciting day for Suffolk Public Schools. This is actually the day that every superintendent really shows what the vision for the school division is based on the strategic plan of the school board, as well as the needs of our students, staff, constituents, and school community. This budget's going to be presented a little bit different this year because Ms. Forsman, the entire cabinet, as well as the budget and finance team, we have really been digging in for the last 2 months. And this really officially started when we had my first community meetings at our 3 high schools. And we heard the needs of our students, staff, and community on what they thought was necessary in order to take Suffolk Public Schools to the next level. And that is something that each and every one of the board members, you all have tasked me with when you all hired me to start on October 14th. One of the things you're going to see this year is we're really going to explain to you the why. There has been several discussions in the past on why the school division needs certain dollars. You will see a line-by-line analysis of where, once we receive this money, and yes, I'm a very optimistic person, once we receive this money, where it's going to go. One of the biggest impacts and pieces of feedback that I received was from the Superintendent's Advisory Committee as I met with 9 students, each representing each one of our secondary schools, as well as CCAP, to really get the student perspective on what it's like to be a student in Suffolk Public Schools. And as Ms. Forsman and the rest of the team and I were putting the finishing touches on the budget, the feedback that they gave on the need for more consumable resources in class, the need to have more resources overall so we can really bring learning to life in the classroom is really important. I also made sure that I took the feedback from you all as individual board members from when we had our one-on-one meetings. I saw certain levels of commonalities like doing things for our support staff, teacher raises, making sure that we did things for our transportation department. These are things that really came out that we knew that we had to put into our budget, as well as looking at the overall effectiveness and efficiency of Suffolk Public Schools from the school administrative office level. You all have heard me say before how I felt that we've been understaffed, and that is something that we feel that within this budget that we're going to address. But overall, the greatest impact is going to be what we are doing in the classroom. We've been very deliberate and strategic when it comes to our new programs and initiatives, such as SPS Connect, our first instructional initiative. And thanks to Mr. Littlefield and his team, as of yesterday, 91% of our secondary students now have a Chromebook in their hand. We also been very deliberate when it came to our extracurricular activities and events with the structure of probably the best shoe endorsement equipment apparel deal in Virginia history. And you all have received some of those items today as our school stores come online for our constituents to be able to become part of the team. So that's what it's all about, because the biggest piece of the puzzle is improving the overall learning experience for our students and our staff in Suffolk Public Schools. At the conclusion of Ms. Forsman's presentation, I will then show you all what we expect our new efficiency and effectiveness of the school administrative office will look like. I would only make one request of the board is to please hold all questions until both Ms. Forsman and I complete our presentations. So with that being said, Ms. Forsman.
Okay. Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and school board members. As Dr. Gordon said, we're very excited tonight to present to you the superintendent's proposed budget for fiscal 2020-2021. This budget was developed using the school board's approved budget development calendar, initially approved in August and then revised in November. And also guiding this work, again, is our school, our school board's strategic plan for 2018-2023, Building Exceptional Schools, which outlines the vision, mission, and goals of this board. In addition, October 2019, our new superintendent, Dr. Gordon, began his entry plan, as he said, building positive relationships with all stakeholders, and held meetings with students, teachers, support staff. I'm sorry, we went too far. I don't know what happened there. John, what is going on here? Is it not? I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. This is, what, John, it's gone like 3, 4 ahead. I was trying to get back to the first one. I don't know why it went more ahead. Technology is great when it works. Here we go. Yes, sir. Thank you. No, I'm hitting the big button. That's what I thought. Okay. I'm just hitting the big button. I thought. Okay, I'm sorry. So, Dr. Gordon began his entry plan and building positive relationships with all stakeholders. And he met with school board members, community, teachers, support staff, and students and listened to their feedback. So this budget, as he said, is a very thoughtful, proactive, strategic approach in proposing the investments that we would like to make in students, teachers, support staff, and the Suffolk Public Schools efficiency and effectiveness. Again, it's important for us all to understand what is meant by the word invest, and Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines invest as to commit money in order to make use for future benefits or advantages. So this is a very strategic way of looking at our budget. When we looked at budget challenges for students, we found that equity with access for technology for all students due to the cost and availability of internet access and devices was one of the challenges. Class sizes in excess of 30 students, which impact student learning. With the increasing importance of mental health and safety of students, that was another challenge. Looking at extracurricular activities or engaging students in those extracurricular activities was important. And then also support for the fine and performing arts. So this budget invests in students, and the way it invests is with SPS Connect, where, as you know, the devices are in the students' hands, but this budget also adds an information technology staff to increase support for student programming. So any kind of applications that the students would use with these Chromebooks will have an information technology staff member dedicated to that. Also, the protection software and the hotspots called Kajits, which provides the equity for all students. In addition, this budget proposes to add additional teaching staff to reduce class sizes, and you can see here 6 middle school teachers in those areas and a high school health and PE teacher. School counselors, mental health needs at an early age. As you know, the governor's budget proposed adding money for our school counselors. And so the increased support for elementary schools who currently have a 0.5 of a counselor or they share a counselor, we're adding an additional school counselor supervisor, which will then support the changing roles of our counselors in schools as part of this proposed budget. For student health, we're adding a nurse's assistant full-time and a part-time nurse's assistant. For student safety, we're adding an additional crossing guard, mobile safety app called Enforce 911, and an additional security monitor. Additional investments in students proposed includes dedicated ISS monitors for alternatives to out-of-school suspension. 6 elementary schools will share monitors, and then 2 high schools will have a dedicated monitor. The extracurricular activities, when we looked at those, increases to coaches' stipends. Middle school are paid per game, and the event workers are paid per game. We've increased that. And for high schools, they'll get a 5% increase, and they're paid by the sport. So they're paid as coaches by sport. And then also stipends for certain clubs, and that will include those clubs with formal charters, those with elected officers, and those that are leadership-focused. Additional investments in students proposed includes a dedicated allocation for fine and performing arts for students for art consumables. Fine and performing arts supervisor dedicated to the program itself. Science materials and supplies. We've had, as you know, we've been purchasing those centrally for several years, but there's money in the budget to add to that. We're finding it's not enough money, so we're adding to that as part of this proposed budget. Next budget challenge would be teacher recruitment. As you know, our current teacher scale, we're ranking 9th of 11th consistently across the board on our scale in Region 2. We're progressively getting more and more vacant positions, 37 current vacant positions, teacher positions in the system. And the scale tops out at 29 years. So as a teacher gets to 30 years experience, they don't move up the scale anymore. There's no place to move. They're at the top of the scale. The investment in this budget proposed is an implementation of a new teacher scale with the starting salary increasing from $43,155 to $46,000. In addition, experienced teachers' salary will increase from $66,997 for 29 plus years experience up to $77,054 at 34 plus years of experience, so adding those steps to the scale. The equal percentage increase between steps that we've talked about before is part of this scale. There'll be equal percentage increases between steps. We will no longer have steps that have the same exact amount or different by $50. And this was all, as you know, reviewed by a teacher committee chosen, and they met November 18th. We're also adding 2 positions, our IT/RT positions, instructional technology resource teachers, to this budget, and an increase in the professional learning budget for teachers and staff. Another budget challenge that we had were bus drivers as support staff. Late buses and double runs have been some things that we've discussed with this board during the school year. Part of that challenge was our hourly wage of $12.80 an hour wasn't competitive anymore for the region. We've been unable to fill vacancies. We've had driver absenteeism and lack of a substitute pool, and all of that has led to lack of support for parents. So those were our challenges, and how we've met those challenges with this proposed budget is to have a new bus driver scale with a starting salary increasing from $12.80 per hour to $14.60 per hour, and adding a step to the top of the scale which rewards our drivers who are most experienced. Another budget challenge with our support staff has been our support staff scales and the inequity issues there. Certain positions aren't competitive in Region 2. The scales are not based on years of experience, and there is compression on the scale. You have some employees who have lots of experience on the same step, or might be on the same step as those with less experience, so it causes inequity. Investments in support staff proposed in this budget include a full-time support staff raise of 3% for cost of living adjustment, and permanent part-time raises at 1.5% cost of living adjustment. In addition, as you know, we're in year 3 of our nurses and nurses assistant increase program, where we looked at our nurses' salaries 3 years ago and could not do that all in 1 year, so this is our 3rd year of that program that is also proposed in this budget. Another budget challenge here with the support staff would be the workload of the custodians and cleanliness in schools. The custodians expressed to Dr. Gordon their heavy workload. We looked at locations that needed to be cleaner, and some staffing levels at some of the locations were at 25,000 square foot per employee. That's kind of hard to say, square foot per employee. And custodians felt underappreciated and disconnected from the staff. So our investment in support staff with regard to custodians would be to add 7 full-time 12-month custodians and 7.8 permanent part-time custodians. This will change our square footage to approximately 18,000 square foot per custodian, and we used the APA, let me get that, that's the Association of Physical Plant Administrators standard for that, and we're between a level 2 and a level 3. Level 2 is orderly tidiness, level 3 is casual inattention. So this proposed budget will put us between those two on the scale for the APA standards. In addition, because we know the work for the review for the scales, for the support scales in general, is a long-term thing. It's not something that can be done in a month or two. The plan would be for this year to review all positions and grades, adjust the scales to Region 2 competitive midpoints, change the support scales to scales based on years of experience with 30 steps, and have a cross-section of employees work with human resources to recommend how experience will be awarded, because it is a change, and propose adjustments to the policies and regulations to meet those adjustments to the scales. In addition, so the budget challenges, our last one for support staff and for efficiency and effectiveness, we reviewed the organizational chart and had a discussion on how to better align staff to support the schools. The main priority questions here with regard to this effectiveness and efficiency were, what can we do to give the greatest impact to the classroom? How can we make services more efficient and effective to support our schools and staff? And how can we increase the support for staff at schools? So let's look at the numbers. My favorite area, the numbers. So you can see here that the new proposed budget is $182.9 million, almost $183 million, which is an increase of 6.01% overall. That includes 3 funds: the operating fund, the grants fund, and the food services fund. And obviously the operating fund is our largest piece at $162.7 million, and that increase is 6.42%. The grants fund increased because we're seeing an increase in grants that we're receiving, so we need to add that money there so we have the appropriation and the right to spend that money. So that increased by 7%. And then food services fund went down slightly, but only because they purchased some equipment last year that they don't need to purchase next year, so the budget went down for that. For the revenues, the state revenues are based on the governor's proposed budget from December, and that had an increase of $4.8 million. This proposed budget includes city appropriation increase of $5 million, and the federal revenue and miscellaneous revenue remain flat at $2 million. So in total increases to revenue would be $9.8 million. For the revenue investment by the state, you can see the Commonwealth of Virginia in the governor's proposed budget puts $4.8 million in investment in schools. Most of those due to re-benchmarking. This is a new biennium, and so that's new re-benchmarking. And what that means is they looked at the cost of education across the state and made changes. Basic aid increased $3.3 million. The compensation supplement that we currently are under in our current budget went away because, again, they included that raise in the regular basic aid package. So that's why that changed. Supplemental lottery changed by $461,000, but sales tax, sales tax estimates increased by $501,367. The state, as you know, the governor's very interested in our at-risk students, and so they added $1 million to our at-risk funds. And then they added this game of skills category, or the governor did, for $641,312. So with that, that is the $4.8 million investment from the state. The investment we're asking from the city is $5 million. If you look at our revenue sources for the operating fund, you can see that the state revenue makes up $94.9 million, or 58.31% of the total budget, whereas the city appropriation makes up $65.8 million, or 40% of the operating budget. Federal funds and other funds make up about 1.25% of the budget. When we look at the expense side of the house, the major classifications, and these are the state-recognized major classifications, you can see that instruction is our largest area with 74.16%, or $135.7 million. Administration and attendance is $3.6 million, or 1.98. And what I'd like to point out is if you go out to our counterparts in the other cities, you will find that much higher number. I don't have their numbers for next year, but the numbers have traditionally been 3% or more. Health and psychology is $2.4 million, or 1.33% of this budget. Pupil transportation is $4.87. Facilities, $8.79, or $16 million. Food services makes up 4.37%, or $8 million, and technology is 4.5%, or $8.2 million. Now, to look at line-by-line items, basically, of how this budget is increased, you can see the proposed expense investments, the teacher scale at almost $4.6 million. The retirement system increase, the retirement system contribution that we give had to increase, and it increased by a little over 1%. So that's $931,000 increase. The support staff raises at 3%, and 1.5% is $550,000. The new scale implementation for the bus drivers is $260,000. The athletic coaches and club sponsors cost $79,000. Year 3 of 3 for the nurses, $65,000. The efficiency and effectiveness plan with a net 3 positions added is $327,000. School counselors added $183,600. The supervisor, $98,140. The high schools, part of this budget proposed, will add 1 month to an additional counselor at the high school, and that would be each of the 3 high schools, for $24,000. 9 total teachers, which would be the middle school 6, the high school 1, and the ITRTs, for $521,000. The custodians we spoke about, the 7 full-time and 7.8 part-time. The teacher assistant and ISS monitors, 6 of those. Nurses assistants, as you know, it's 1 full-time, 1 part-time. A security monitor, a crossing guard, a school receptionist, a technology application specialist that we talked about, employee relations supervisor, account technician 3 for VRS, and then we had some positions that were converted from permanent part-time to full-time, and they're not a 1-to-1, and so that difference was 2.03 for a total of 41 positions and an investment of $8.6 million in personnel of the 9.8. Other costs would be the purchase services and advertising at $228,000, materials and supplies, and the reason I use the word net there is because a lot got moved from other lines to that. So if you look at just materials and supplies, it's higher than that, but if you net it out with the others that were decreased in order to add there to provide those supplies, it's $392,000. property insurance, and cybersecurity insurance, which is becoming more and more needed as governments and school divisions around the country are being held hostage and having to pay for cybersecurity breaches. We added that insurance, so the difference for the two of those is $115,000. Some equipment replacements for $138,000. That additional professional learning we talked about for $71,000. Some equipment additions net of our E-rate for $54,000. Materials and supplies for the fine and performing arts of $40,000. Because we're receiving more grants, some require a match, a cash match, so we're adding to that line to make sure that we have enough to accept the grants that we are receiving. Leases of radios, that's paid to the city of Suffolk. They set that cost each year, went up $21,500. For our custodians, cafeteria staff, and our mechanics at the bus garage, we're adding shoes to their uniforms. And those will cost $16,400. Materials and supplies for science, the increase is $15,679. Total utilities, this would be your water, your electricity, your heat, those kinds of things, $11,000 total across those. And food for trainings and meetings, which we're breaking out this year. You'll see that broken out from trainings and meetings. It used to be all in one line. We're breaking it out so we can provide information about that, $24,000. So the operating cost investment is $1.1 million. So the total expense investment matches the revenue of $9.8 million. Dr. Board? I don't press it too hard, it goes long.
All right, thank you, Ms. Forsman. So in summary, before I discuss the SPS efficiency and effectiveness, I just want to point out a few key items there for the board's recollection. We are looking for cleaner schools. That is a point that I don't think that any funding source, any parent, any student would disagree with. We're also looking to make sure that we are decreasing our pupil-teacher ratios, especially with the middle school students, which are 3 of our largest groups of cohort of students out of our 13 grades. We also, as I stated earlier, are making sure that we have more consumables to actually be used in the classrooms and resources for our teachers. We are concerned about the overall mental health of our students and staff, which is part of the reason why you see more mental health support with an addition of school counselors. And we want to make sure that we appreciate our teachers more. For 3 out of the last 5 years, a $1 million increase in our budget, we have not ever recovered from the 2007 recession. And this is part of the reason why our salary scale has been 9th out of 11th in the region. Our teachers have done a tremendous job here. And as you can see, out of the $5 million that we're asking for, $4.6 million of that is to go to our teachers because we really think that they deserve it. Now, the other side of this is how I feel about what we actually are taking a look at the school administrative office level with our SPS efficiency and effectiveness. And one of the things that we wanted to talk about, as you all have heard me mention several times when we were doing our community meetings, as well as several times in my communications with you all, is that we are understaffed at the school administrative office level as well. If I were to count the number of positions that we have based on the total number of students we have, we are only staffed at the administrative office level for 8,500 or so students. So in this system here, this is how things will look from the superintendent's level down. And we will make sure that we get the board a hard copy of this so that everyone can take a look. But with myself, Mr. Waller, our school board clerk being there, I really believe that we should really divide our central school administrative office up into 3 levels, with a chief financial officer, Mrs. Forsman, reclassifying the title for Dr. Harrison from assistant superintendent of teaching and learning to chief academic officer, and reclassifying the title of Dr. Rice to chief of administrative services. And as you can see, we actually have several directors that will be reporting to these individuals at the chief level. Just to put everything into perspective, I really believe that streamlining this process will make it a lot easier for our constituents and other staff members to be able to follow. So for example, if we have any level of department that deals with money, it's under our chief financial officer, Ms. Forsman. Anything that deals with the classroom itself, a move of special education, moving from out underneath of Dr. Rice into the teaching and learning department, chief academic officer's overall umbrella with Dr. Harrison. We also, I want to point out a new position, because I know there were some messages and bad rumors out there that we were doubling the size of the school administrative office. This is why it was very important that Ms. Forsman mentioned we are increasing the total size of central office only by 3 positions. And one of those is very important, the Director of Curriculum and Instruction. This is a new position that I think we need to add in order to take a hard look at how teaching and learning is really happening in the classroom, our pacing guides, our lesson planning, and making sure that we're really fitting the needs of our students. As you see, Ms. Ward is up there as our Community Engagement Officer. Dr. Brown still remains as our Director of Human Resources. Dr. Rice has probably had the largest impact on this new restructuring here because Dr. Rice's department was a hodgepodge for everything. If we didn't know where to put it under Dr. Rice. It's one of the things that we're making an adjustment here where with transportation and of course some of the other departments that have remained as I move forward here in the slides. I'll break down finance right here. Mr. Napier will now also, with facilities and planning, will now also work under our finance department. Still can see that Dr. Whiting, our Director of Food Services, will also be moving from Dr. Rice's department to Chief Finance because he deals with a lot of money. And you heard us talk about the importance of National School Breakfast Week as a notion. Dr. Whiting has a lot of great ideas of what we're going to do in order to make sure that our kids are eating throughout the school year, including the summer. We also wanted to make sure that we brought some uniformity to positions, as Ms. Forsman did a very good job of explaining when it came to the titles actually matching the steps on the scale. With our Mr. Downs, Supervisor of Custodial Services, that's going to be a big change for a lot of our principals. We're going to move the custodians out from underneath of our principals. The head custodian will still directly report both to the principal and to Mr. Downs, but we want our principals focusing on instruction in the classroom as well as focusing on leadership. And with us using the APRA standards as a guide, we feel like this is going to be a tremendous way in order to be able to have our buildings a lot cleaner, including increasing it by 14.8 positions so that we can have our custodians do more cleaning at night and take the burden off of our lead custodians that were coming in the morning. Breaking this down a little bit further, as you can see, the structure from Mr. Napier's department, not a lot of change right here. But we wanted to make sure the board was aware of how we want to streamline things. So we want to give each department their opportunity and the board's opportunity to review exactly who's reporting to them. Just because we're changing the titles of some folks, just because we're changing which umbrella they actually will be reporting to, each one of the directors that have always been on the superintendent's cabinet will remain on the superintendent's cabinet. Dr. Whiting's here with food services, maintenance technicians. We're doing some different things with the warehouse staff. As Dr. Whiting has come up with a plan so that we actually will have individuals that will be responsible for helping to keep the cafeteria equipment clean. We think that's really important. We think that's something that may have been slightly ignored. And so as we're beginning to adjust to more times, more opportunities for our kids to have grab-and-go food, more opportunities to have breakfast in the classroom, et cetera, we need to also make sure we convert our staff to better fit the needs of our schools. In technology, with Mr. Littlefield's department, the big push here is our instructional technology resource teachers. This is a direct correlation to the need for us to add more staff because of SPS Connect. With 91% of our students having these devices at home, having their Chromebooks at home, we need more staff to not only for troubleshooting and things of that nature, but this staff will also be tasked with making sure that we're doing a better job of implementing instructional technology in the classroom. That's why they are instructional technology resource teachers. We're going to push our teachers, we're going to push our students, and we will be able to know if this is working well based on the products that you see that our students are developing. And school board members, I can share it with you, we have a lot of creative students in Suffolk Public Schools. Giving the opportunity to have more support for those kids, future coders, and getting some ideas for, so hopefully they want to come back and be instructional technology resource teachers themselves. That is one of our goals. In secondary leadership under Dr. Lee, wanted to make adjustments. We're right here. I feel that the CTE department needs to be under high school education. If we're looking at secondary leadership itself, Mr. Skinner has done a tremendous job with our CTE completers, workplace readiness, et cetera, but we also wanted to make sure it was going to do a much better job of tying into the overall high school life, the experiences, as we continue to find ways to increase the number of our students that are taking dual enrollment classes, as well as coming out with those certifications. And one of the focuses that both Mr. Skinner and Dr. Lee and I have talked about is giving our kids the opportunities for more internships throughout the community. Our kids are ready for careers. Let's give them the opportunity early by making sure that we pattern that with the plans from the school counselors, the career technical education pathways that we want to do. And so we think partnering our CTE department with our secondary principals is a logical step, since secondary leadership is all about preparing our kids for life after Suffolk Public Schools anyway. At the elementary level, one of the changes that we're looking at is making sure that we have our coordinator of federal programs and intervention services under Ms. Connor, and also our intervention enrichment specialists. Ladies and gentlemen, some of the things that we're seeing from our elementary school students mean that we need more support. And we want to make sure that we do a better job of communicating what those expectations are going to be and collaborating more to do a better job of helping the students. We think that streamlining this will allow increased communication. If we have increased communication, we definitely know we can serve our kids better. We want to be proactive in what we're trying to do at the elementary levels, and that is the foundation of learning here in SPS. Dr. Harrison's department is big, and it should be, because in the end, we are a school system that is focused on instruction. And so one of the things that I wanted to make sure that we kind of point out is we are doing some conversions of our science specialists, so it's a science/STEM specialist. To me, that's really important. With science, technology, engineering, and math being the forefront of many things that you're seeing when it comes to grants and the new fields of employment that are out there, why didn't we have someone in this position to help our kids reach those goals? We thought that was important. We also are doing an upgrade, as Ms. Forsman mentioned earlier. Right now, we were having a fine arts facilitator. We want to make that a full-time position. Let's have a fine arts specialist. When we take a look at the numbers that we're having of our kids, the feedback we got from the community, at every one of our 3 community meetings, there was a consistent message of, what are you doing about the fine arts? What are you doing about the fine and performing arts? Well, this is what we're doing. We're upgrading to a full-time position. We're beginning to have exploratory conversations about adding a fine and performing arts specialist center at Lakeland High School. We're also taking some opportunities to go and explore to see what other fine and performing arts specialist centers across the state, what they're doing, because we want to make ours better, with a larger focus on music production and behind the scenes work besides the stage production that you normally see. I also felt if we are trying to create the overall learning experience, the importance of extracurricular activities and events is so important to our students. The more the kids are involved in school, the less likely they are to drop out of school. And as a former basketball coach, I really am so excited to hear about a lot of the great things that I'm seeing when it comes to that. And thank you to Dr. Lee for giving me the information that Kings Fork just won at a 3-point shot at the buzzer and won by 1 tonight. Those are the things that we're all looking for to keep our kids involved in school. So why don't we have someone that's in charge of our extracurricular activities at the central office level? There's a lot of money coming in to help us to make sure that we have a replacement cycle for uniforms, et cetera. This person will now be responsible for working with our athletic directors that we see at the secondary level. Again, this was something else that was originally under Dr. Rice's umbrella. But she has so many other responsibilities that we're asking her to do. We want to make sure that we can always do everything as effectively as we can. The other big move, as you can see here, as I mentioned earlier, was the moving of special education into teaching and learning. This is the one reporting group that for almost a decade, we haven't made the gains that we need. And so now, under the leadership of Mrs. Whitley, the partnership that we're having with teaching and learning, there's so many good instructional strategies that are being used in special education classrooms that can be used in all of them. But let's have more collaboration and communication so we can bring that to the forefront. So as you see here, this teaching and learning department under our new chief academic officer, these are things that we need. Nothing that I'm presenting to the board tonight, nothing that I'm presenting to our school community tonight is a want. This is what we need in order to make our school division move forward. Community engagement, oh, I'm just so excited about all the great ideas that Ms. Ward has. And we've already made a few changes. You all read the information for our new digital specialist, communication specialist for Mr. Charles Brabble coming on board. But we also have upgraded Ms. Pam Workman to become our social media specialist. She's the one that's been doing those great posts about you all here during School Board Appreciation Month. But we also felt that print shop should also be under community engagement. It just made more sense. If we're putting information out there, why do we have to go to another department if the information is coming from community engagement anyway? And as you all knew, when we changed the title from public information to community engagement, is with the complete reinforcement of having two-way communication. And I think that Ms. Ward, Ms. Workman, Mr. Brabble, and that team has done a really strong job of doing that. But I also wanted to add the parent resource facilitator that primarily was working with Title I schools there. That's the foundation. That's the foundation of making sure at our elementary level, parents understand not only what the expectations are, but parents are given the resources and support that they may need. We have so many parents that do a tremendous job of being involved in their children's lives, but we can't be satisfied until we have them all. So we're trying to engage the students at the elementary level with a parent resource facilitator, engaging the students and engaging the parents. That needs to be under community engagement. With HR, Dr. Brown's team has been doing a good job of basically doing everything. One of the new positions that we're asking to be added here is an employee relations specialist. This is better support for our staff members. One of the things that you heard Ms. Forsman talk about, there are mainly two reasons why we have lost staff here in Suffolk Public Schools. Number one is the pay. There's no need to lie about that. But on the exit surveys, number two was the support of staff, the needs that we're having. I'm not just talking about employee assistance program. I'm talking about the overall support when it comes to filling out insurance paperwork, getting tuition reimbursement, taking a look at how much insurance is going to cost for VRS. This employee relations supervisor and this VRS technician that Ms. Forsman had briefly mentioned, the VRS technician, since we are going to have an increase almost every year for the near future, this is going to be a joint position that's actually shared between human resources and the finance department. We are going to improve and increase collaboration and communication at the school administrative office level. Now, Dr. Rice's department is still big. It's just not as big as it was, okay? And with the focus on transportation, we think that increasing the pay, starting pay of our bus drivers from $12.80 to $14.60 is going to be a game changer for us. We have to be competitive, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to not competing with other school divisions when it comes to transportation, but the private industry. That is a lot of times is where we've been losing drivers. And you all know this just as well as I do, Ms. Young, Dr. Rice, we haven't had a full transportation bus driver staff all year. And it's March. Now, it's gotten better. We're not at 19 anymore. We're right around 10 or 11, I think, right? But we want to be fully staffed next year. And originally, we were going to put this increase at $14 an hour. But Ms. Forsman, who keeps her ear to the ground, realized that the other school division are doing 2% and 3% increases. Even if we did $14 an hour, we still would have been behind. So let's go up 60 cents more. And one of the memos that you all received today was about our bus drivers that were receiving their incentives for perfect attendance. We wanted to make sure that we were rewarding our drivers because they have been working hard, especially those that have been doing double runs. And when we changed it up and decided that we were going to give a $150 bonus for every bus driver that has perfect attendance every month, we kept in play the $500 bonus for the first semester. So in the month of January, we had some bus drivers that actually received $650 bonuses. We wanted to thank them for their work. 68 for the 500, 44 had perfect attendance in the month of January. That is a huge change than the data that we've seen in the past. So as we continue to work for the school administrative office, efficiency and effectiveness, the increase in the asking for money that we need, the key word that you saw up there tonight was investment. We're asking our city council to invest in Suffolk Public Schools like they probably haven't done in a long time. But it's something that is necessary. When I went to all 21 of our buildings and I met with the faculties of each school, that included custodians, paraprofessionals, instructional assistants, everyone, the feedback that they gave me is the feedback that you saw in this budget. And we know with the support staff, it's going to take us about 6 months or so to get it right. But I didn't want to leave anyone out, which is part of the reason why we have that 3% cost of living increase there. The feedback that Mr. Mickney gave us about the school counselors, that's in the budget. The feedback the entire board gave us about support staff is in the budget. The feedback that Mr. Riddick gave about transportation, it's in the budget. The feedback that Ms. Story gave to us about science, it's in the budget. We want to make sure that our entire city knows that Suffolk Public Schools is the largest employer in the city. Our students are our future, and this is the type of money that we need in order to move the school division forward to meet the goals of building exceptional schools and to take our school division to the next level. Thank you so much. We will now entertain questions. I will slide over to my right in case there's some questions that Wendy Forsman needs to answer.
I'd like to first say, outstanding job to Ms. Forsman on getting all this information together in such a concise way, showing that we are investing in the future of Suffolk Public Schools. That investment idea is great, and that's what we need to be doing. I know your staff has worked long and hard, and I know you have as well. And we appreciate, as a board, all of this additional. Dr. Gordon, there's so much in this that is just things I've only dreamed of, you know. And I've been around a right long time, and I've been dreaming about some of these things. And to see them on paper and the reorganization, I love that. I think that reorganization is going to make things work very clearly. Any other comments? Mr. Ritt?
My question is the cost of insurance for our employees, is that going to increase? I hope it doesn't, but is the insurance going to increase?
Well, as you know, we're on a calendar year for our plan. So our plan runs from January to December. We made some significant changes to our plan for this fiscal year, or this calendar year for our plan. So we don't have enough data yet to really be able to give you a solid answer for that. I can tell you that we're watching that monthly, and at this point, it really looks good. So at this point, there is no desire to change that for this coming year. Now, that is not a fiscal year. Remember, that's a calendar year. So if things change, we will be back to the board before June to say it has to change for next January. At this point, we are not anticipating that. We're not seeing that in our numbers for January yet. But I do want to caution you that it's early days and we don't have enough data to be able for me to give you that answer as an absolute.
Okay, thank you.
The question I wanted to ask was about the current investment. You said the $5 million investment from the city. The current investment is the city's current investment.
Oh, how much they're currently giving us?
Current
Oh,
investment.
yeah. So currently, they're giving us 63 million, and we're asking for 68 million.
And we're just asking it to move up.
Yeah, 60 and 65, I'm sorry, 60 and 65, I was looking at thinking of a different number, but $60.8 million to be exact, current year, 65.8 would be the request for next year.
For next year.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Ms. Story?
I love it. I'm very enthused about this budget. I think it does show vision. It also shows that you listened and heard what multiple people said across the board. And I'm very impressed with that. And I think this budget is great. I think that it's going to give support in all areas that we needed. And next year, I think will be a continuation as we strive for equity, because you can never all do it at once. But I think this was a great beginning, and I know that I will be pushing hard and as an advocate for receiving the money that we need, because I think this will make a huge difference. So, thank you, Dr. Gordon. This was really good. Thank you so much.
Any others? Ms. Mayo?
Again, I certainly agree with Mrs. Story. Excellent job. And investing in our students and looking at the needs of our school division, taking what we have, streamlining it, making it better, adding what's needed. And you made a very important point, what is needed for our school division. And we have to invest in our students if we're going to be a great, even greater school division. So thank you so much. And Mrs. Forsman, outstanding. And the explanation, I think anyone that's not a finance expert, it's easy to understand and to absorb. So thank you so much.
Mr. Mitnick?
Yes. Ms. Forsman, could you see that we get a copy of the PowerPoints?
Yes, oh, absolutely, yes. Sir.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say this budget touches everybody. And I'm so pleased to see that we are recognizing everybody in the system. I see our bus drivers back here in the back row, and I hope that they're happy with what they saw. I appreciate everything that you do, but now we're going to try to make that money in your pocket go a little further than it used to. And I'm happy to see the addition of the people to this central office staff because they are much needed positions. The counselors and the fine arts have been squirming around for a long time looking for leadership. And I'm glad to see that we're adding those positions. And, thank you very much for everything that you've included in an investment in our children.
Ms. Jenkins?
First of all, it's an amazing time to be with Suffolk Public Schools. Thank you both so much, and everyone that supported our superintendent and Mrs. Forsman. We can't say anything, but we're excited about it. We can tell that you put your heart in it. You thought about everyone, and I would just invite everyone to go to the city council meeting when this budget is proposed, and we go there with our gear on, and we sit right out there, and we let them know. I mean, this is thoughtful. This is what we need, because we want our city, we want our school system to flourish. And just like you said in your interview and what you've been saying, your vision, you're making it plain right here, and we appreciate you, and we support all of you 100%, because we're a team and we're in this together. So again, whenever the meeting is for the budget, I make a motion that we all go to the meeting, so we'll let them know that this is just not a fly-by-night thing. We're serious about this. Thank you so much.
Any others? Any other comments?
Well.
Well. Great job. Great job. Great job. Moving on with the agenda. It's hard to follow that. That was a great performance. Moving along, I think we have some ordinances up for first reading. Ordinance 19/20-62, amending Chapter 9, Article 2, Section 9-11.6, entitled Portable Communication Technology Devices. That's up for first reading. Also, we have ordinance 19/20-63, amending Chapter 9, Article 23, Section 9-23.11, entitled Record of Requests for Disclosure, Directory Information, defined, release of additional information. And we have ordinance 19/20-64, amending Chapter 10, Article 6, Section 10.6-1, entitled Minimal Intrusions. Communication must be carefully reviewed. No approval for certain materials. Superintendent to establish regulations. Political communications not to be prohibited. Issue-oriented materials for classroom discussion. And ordinance 19/20-65, adding Chapter 1, Article 9, Section 1-9.2, entitled Recognition of Board Members. All of these are up for first reading. Informational items. And moving on, we have some resolutions. Resolution 19/20-19, a resolution approving the terms and condition of an agreement to provide policy service for the Suffolk City Schools between the Suffolk City School Board and the Virginia School Board Association. and that is an action item.
You want to take all those together because they're resolution?
Do we want to take these separately or all in lump?
I would put them separate.
Lump?
No, separate.
Separate, okay. First one then.
I have a question on that one.
Okay, question on you? Okay.
6.
So this is number 6. And in terms of where we can receive professional training, it just mentions the VSBA, but I wonder if there are other associations or the NSBA that we can also receive professional training for the board, rather than just one organization only, and some of them are repetitive. So in order for us to have a broader chance at professional development, are there online things we can do with other agencies or the National School Board Association? What else sort of exists out there is what, I'm seeing that it's just pretty one track and one track only.
Dr. Gordon, would you like to address that?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. The Virginia School Board Association is the local branch of the NSBA, but you do have the option to potentially participate in National School Board Association conferences, professional learning. You will probably see some of the same topics, but you will also see other issues that are more on a national level. As far as webinars go, Virginia School Board Association is really the only recognized one that we have access to in the state, due to the fact that NSBA states that each state should have their own school board association based on different rules regarding school board report cards, local policies, et cetera. So NSBA would be an option.
Okay.
But those things are usually face-to-face conferences, which the board will have to take a look at for expenses. But there are always options for VSBA for webinars that you mentioned, Ms. Story. Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Bob, may I ask you to-
That as well. VSBA is, as Dr. Gordon mentioned, an arm of NSBA, and it's just because of the structure of schools in our country. Every state has its own, because of the Constitution. Every state sets up and is responsible for local schools, which means that every state has different regulations and rules. And so VSBA is our arm of NSBA. And our laws in Virginia would be those that they are, the VSBA would be structured on and we would learn from, and therefore would structure our activities. So that would be where our training would come from.
So I appreciate that you mentioned NSBA and webinars. I think maybe there will be more opportunity for online learning as for school board associations as well. And I saw there's a cost with this resolution. So is that done, does everyone pay the same thing, or all districts pay the same? So it's not based on size or anything? Okay, great, thank you. Thank you for that information.
Did you have anything, Mr. Waller, to add?
No, I don't.
Okay, anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, that is an action item.
My button push?
Oh, yes.
Okay, and I don't know if there's clarification needed. This resolution is simply on policy review, that we're under a memorandum of understanding for them to supply us information on policy reviews that come through from the State Department of Education and the General Assembly each year. So it wasn't in reference to membership in the VSBA. It was a policy service agreement.
And it's a flat fee for each school division, correct?
And the policies are based on Virginia state laws that are determined by the Virginia Department of Education.
So,
Any other?
yeah. So then I have a question. So Attorney Waller reviews all our policies to see that they're lined up. So we're paying for them to look at our policies or to suggest policy language based on new law? What exactly, then, now that Mr. Mitnick has said that, can you clarify that?
Mr. Wallace.
What are we paying for?
What the VSBA does is that they issue model policies for all of the school divisions throughout the Commonwealth, with the hope that all school divisions will have similar policies, if not the same policies. Each local school board, however, can alter those model policies that come from the VSBA. And so periodically, they will issue a number of policies, at which time my office will review those and determine which of those policies we think would be most conducive for Suffolk, at which time recommendations are then made to the Policy Review Committee. So the VSBA issues these model policies, and they go to all school divisions throughout the Commonwealth.
Thank you.
Any others? Okay, this is an action item.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the resolution.
Second.
Board members, please vote. Motion carried.
Next, we have Resolution 19/20-21, a resolution approving the terms and conditions of a memorandum of understanding between the Suffolk City School Board and the Suffolk Health Department. Question, Ms. Story?
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
since I was the only one who asked for that one, the rest of them I am comfortable with that you take in bulk. If no one has any other objections, I'm
Okay.
fine with that.
In bulk, then, we'll take all of them. Anybody have a question? Okay, Resolution 19/20-22, a resolution approving the terms and condition of a memorandum of understanding between the Suffolk City School Board and the Franklin Health Department. Resolution 19/20-23, resolution approving the terms and conditions of a memorandum of understanding between the Suffolk City School Board and ODU College of Health Science. Resolution 19/20-24, resolution approving the terms and conditions of a memorandum of understanding between the Suffolk City School Board and Centera Louise Oversea Memorial Hospital. And a resolution 19/20-25, approving the terms and conditions of a memorandum of understanding between the Suffolk City School Board and the American Diabetes Association. That's an action item for all of those.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept those resolutions.
Second.
Board members, please vote. Motion carried.
No, public speakers on non-agenda topics. They don't have any. And now we'll go to business by board members. Ms. Jenkins?
Here. Thanks. I just want to say again that I'm really excited about our proposed budget, that I am seeing that we will get approved and we will be able to move forward. And again, everyone with our staff and our administrators, I admire you so much for your dedication and everything you do to make our Suffolk Public Schools great, and what you're going to do to make it even greater. I just want to make a note that somehow our new delegate got my phone number and asked me to let you all know that whenever, call him, email him, visit him, and let him know what the Suffolk School Board needs. He said that's what he's there for. He said he's hearing from everybody else except for Suffolk Public Schools. So he has seats waiting for you, and he wants to hear from you. I also want to say I've done a lot of visiting at the schools, and I'm very excited about what I see going on there. The kids are happy, the staff are enjoying what they're doing with the kids, and we just want you all to know I'm behind you 100%, and if you need us to do anything, I'm right there for you. just let us know, and if you want us to come in and read or whatever, we can take time and we can do that, because it's not just about being up here and doing the policies and procedures is what we were elected to do, but we love being engaged with the students as well and going to the schools. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Mr. Mitnick?
Yes. First thing, I'd like to commend Dr. Gordon and Ms. Forsman and her department again for the compilation of the proposed budget we received this evening. I know that's a product of many, many hours of work and input from many different people, and I do appreciate the support that you have given to our staff in the budget, and I look forward going through the process, and like Ms. Jenkins said earlier, hopefully we can all get together and be there at the budget sessions to support the investment in Suffolk Public Schools. When I attended the SEAC meeting, Special Ed Advisory Committee meeting in January, they're still very concerned about how their committee will be formed next year. I've asked for some feedback because I know when I go back in March that they're going to want to know, because they start recruiting in March for SEAC for the following years. There's a number of key people whose terms are up and they're not allowed to be on SEAC next year. So my question is, again, if we each appoint one member to SEAC, I hope somebody can get me an answer. The other people that currently serve on SEAC, if they are not board appointees, how will they get on the board? Will they also have to submit the letter of interest if that's the route that we're going to go, or submit the application if that's how we choose? I just hope that we can get some clarification on this. And I know that we had that discussion earlier this evening, but I would like to see some feedback coming quickly. And I know the policy review will be working on that. I also had an opportunity to attend the meeting of Access College Foundation, and Dr. Gordon was given an honorary position on their board, and congratulate him on that. And I wish Mr. Riddick luck as he continues in that position with Access Foundation. Thank you.
Ms. Mayo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I serve as a representative from the school board on the Governor's School for the Arts, and we had a meeting on January the 29th. The Governor's School is doing well. The interest and participation of the students remain high, and there are numerous opportunities for growth. They are abundant. Each time we meet, we have good news reports from various departments, and this time the dance department and the film and theater departments were featured. I'm very pleased to say that the presentation from the dance department was by our own Nansemond River High School student, a 4-year dance student. And her first name was Gracie. Her last name escapes me, and Dr. Gordon and I both can't think of her last name. So somebody please find out that. But excellent report. And she gave her perspective from a student, her experiences 4 years, lots of enthusiasm, represented Suffolk well, and Dr. Gordon and I were up out of our chairs as soon as the meeting was over to talk with her. So we're very proud of that. Also, I had a wonderful opportunity to visit Pioneer and to go over to their PTA meeting, but that particular evening, rather than have the traditional PTA meeting, they had an artist, actually an author in residence, who came and shared experiences, her book, and interacted with some of the students at Pioneer. So there were parents and students that were involved, and that was a wonderful experience. And then, lastly, I'd like to thank Forest Glen Middle School for the invitation in honor of School Board Appreciation Month. I visited Forest Glen on yesterday, and Mrs. Byron was also present. We received a warm welcome and enjoyed lunch with the 7th graders during the 7th grade lunch period. We also had an opportunity to sit with some of the 7th grade teachers and had fellowship, enjoyed the food, was good, excellent. Good food, Dr. Whiting. All right. We visited several classrooms. We had an opportunity to visit a pre-algebra class, a math class, and an English class. I observed that the students were actively engaged. They were being exposed to a variety of teaching methods, and the use of technology was definitely evident, Mr. Littlefield. For example, we saw Chromebooks in use, the Google Classroom, the Smart Board, lots of engaged student engagement. I would certainly like to express again my thanks to Mr. Bradshaw and the Forest Glen Middle School family for the invitation, and I'd like to say that good things are happening over at Forest Glen Middle School. Thank you for the opportunity, Madam Chair.
Mr. Riddick?
I just got a notepad full of stuff. Sorry, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet, straight to the point. First and foremost, I want to say thank you for this excellent Nike apparel. It's anyone who knows me know I don't like wearing big coats, so this is right up my alley. I'm gonna wear it every time I exercise, going to the buffet. That's an inside joke between me and the board. But I really am grateful to see how everything is coming together. All of us are moving forward in the right direction. This is what we can do when we work together and communicate. And it's a great time to be in Suffolk, not only for our students, but for those potential educators that are looking to come to our city. I also want to say I visited several schools. Actually, I think I've been up to about 20 different times in the last month or so. And I just want to commend Ms. Pishon at Hill Point Elementary School. Oh my God, that school is rocking. The step team that they have for the young persons at Hill Point it's remarkable. Kings Fork High School had a college audition day for their marching band. We didn't only have students from Suffolk, we had students from Hopewell come to an event that was hosted here. This was the diving board from which students launched into the deep as far as their post-secondary education, and it's remarkable. The next thing I want to touch base about is I did a community walkthrough last Saturday, and I got great feedbacks from a lot of parents regarding the Chromebooks, and their major concern was, how do we monitor it? And I said, we got it, you just make sure they don't break it. But the parents are excited because a lot of students don't have computer access at home. So this made it easy. And then when I was able to show some parents how to use and navigate through Google Classroom, one parent started crying because she was excited because she couldn't physically come out to the school. and she was able to check up on everything her child was doing. The child didn't like it, but the parent did. The last thing in closing, I would like to ask, on a more serious note, that we revisit our memorandum of understanding with the Suffolk Police Department, and that we do so expeditiously. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riddick. Ms. Story?
Thank you. I reiterate, thank you, Dr. Gordon, for a great budget. I think one of the concerns that I've heard in the past regarding from City Council and the budget is maybe a perception about where is the money going, and you have, and Ms. Horsman have done an excellent job at answering that. I think that is a big plus. Whether it was real or unreal, it doesn't matter. What I think is good is that it is to the best that I think we can do. I think it's very good in that, and so I think that's very helpful. So I wanted to mention that. Thank you. I attended our 2 advisory, board advisory meetings. I attended our CTE, Citizen Advisory Meeting, and heard a good report there. And I'll be reporting that on some of the good things that I heard there on my social media site. And then I also attended SHAB, and that was a really well-run meeting. That was just excellent. I thought they are really doing a good job. One of the things that I would be interested in having them look at in terms of the health is when what would be a percent level of sickness, either by students or teachers, where we shut down the school. I haven't heard a percent, but I know that other school districts seem to develop a sort of a benchmark bar of once you get to so many kids passing around something and staff, then it's time to address that. So if they could take a look, or you and your staff would take a look at that, I think that would be something that would really add quality and that support. Of course, we have, right now we're looking at the coronavirus preparedness, and I read the NSBA email this morning, and one of the exciting things is they asked about teleschool preparedness. So I think we are more prepared than ever to be able to do that, which is exciting, but I also think they just got them, and if that's at all in our expectations, I know you can handle that, and what is that going to look like? I'm going to be really positive and say that it will not come in this direction. That's the best possible scenario. But now, whether it's this year or in the future, that's another exciting thing about technology, is being able to do some teleschool. So thank you, Dr. Gordon, for that. I would like also for the policy committee to look at the provision in the code, please, for adding a student on our school board. That is provisional in the Code of Virginia. I think I asked you, Dr. Gordon, about that when sometime in the interview or right after process. I felt you were in favor of that. I don't want to misspeak, but I think with the emphasis on civics, this would be a great opportunity. They can run a campaign. It's for a senior member to sit on the board. They don't have any voting rights or whatever, but I think that would be a great addition to have interaction and to have a camaraderie going on between the school board and our students. So if you would look at that, the policy committee would look at that code that talks about that and see, propose something for our school board to consider, I would appreciate that. In the things coming up, we always have a safety report, and I'm concerned about the number of blanks that have null in them. would you please take a look at that? And I'm assuming that where it says null, it hasn't been reported, doesn't mean necessarily it hasn't been done, but it would be good. I think some schools haven't reported anything yet for this year. So would you take a look at that and see if that safety report could be improved? That would be great. And then I'm going to ask the policy committee to look at one more thing, and that is looking at the districts in our area and moving to have what would it look like and have discussion. I would like to discuss it at a work meeting with the board, to have 2 meetings a month, to have one be a regular meeting and one be a work meeting. We are one of the boards that get a salary, and I think we're really privileged to have that. And it seems that we are one of the only school boards in the district that only has 1 meeting a month. Our city council has 2 meetings. They have a regular and a work meeting. And I think most of the school boards in our area do also. So I'd like to see our board have more time, have a work meeting to discuss some of the things that we're charged to do from the Virginia Code. So if you could look into that, I would appreciate it, and bring a report back of what that might look like. And we can all think about it until you do. If we're the only ones in the area having only 1 meeting, even smaller districts like Isle of Wight, they have 2 meetings a month. So I think it's something we should at least discuss and look at. I just want to recognize that we did put this meeting on Ash Wednesday. And so for those who have a liturgical and had things tonight, we didn't do that on purpose, but I just want to recognize that it is the beginning of a Christian season that's really important, and tonight was Ash Wednesday. So just know that I'm sorry that it turned out that way, because we had to postpone it, and so I apologize for, I don't know if it's an apology, but I just want to recognize that we did step on that religious holiday, and so we've looked at another religious holiday coming up in the fall. So this one was one we had to step on, and I'm sorry for that. One other thing, Dr. Gordon, if I could ask, the goal sheet, when we looked at it at the summer retreat, some of the blanks could not be filled in because they didn't have the data. The data was coming up in either September, October. So if you wouldn't mind filling those for the past years, if we could get some of that filled in. Dr. Harrison said that it was that data would be coming up in the fall. I remember asking about that. So if we could have an updated sheet of now the scores that have come in, that would be great. I'd appreciate that. All right. I do believe I have, if I could, a point of information. I believe that I love the inclusion, playground equipment, that's great. But there was definitely a group of parents that were willing to get $1 million towards an inclusion playground. This was before you came, but you may know about it, up at Northern Shores. And we tied it to an addition. We didn't, well, I wasn't on the board then, but in October, November, one of those meetings, it got tied to the addition. But initially, it was not tied to the addition. And I know that Mr. Napier had worked out with them. They could have been done singularly. I think he's nodding his head, and it could be done apart from each other. Now it seems that addition is pushed down the line or something. And so I would like to revisit that, Madam Chair. If they are willing, if we could put that on the agenda, if they are willing to get a grant for $1 million, or get the money for $1 million, and put an inclusion playground at Northern Shores. I think we should entertain the idea again, and I think we should entertain not having it tied to that addition. So I'd like that put on the agenda for next time. I think the board had a really good meeting tonight, and I know that we're all just really enthused about the budget, so it made for a really good time, and for that, that's pretty exciting. One other thing, Madam Chair, if you would confirm our joint meeting with City Council. The upcoming one. I think they've usually put our joint meeting right prior to their work meeting, and the mayor talked about May would be the next in 3 months. So if you could confirm that with her, it would be great. And the other thing I would like to hear before that meeting, it was given to me that in the proposal that was in the company that was chosen, RRM&M, could we get there was an addendum attached to that for redistricting. They attached us an addendum saying that they could outsource that, and I believe Mr. Hines was going to get a cost estimate on that. So if we could get a report on that, I would appreciate that. It was there, but as an additional cost, as an addendum. So if I'm wrong, Mr. Hines, am I correct on that? Okay. So if you could, I just would like to see it cost out the cost for it. What does that look like from our M&M? Because definitely Mr. Mitnick and I asked about that. We thought it was going to be included in the plan, but it wasn't. So, but it turns out it was sort of in this addendum. So that's it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Let me just, since that started, let me just say this. Whether we rezone, redistrict, whatever we do is a Suffolk Public School Board decision. The 7 of us make that determination. It is our responsibility. It would be nice to pass it on to someone else, and then we couldn't take the responsibility. But it is no one's responsibility but ours. Now, let me go on to my comments. Thank you so much, Believers Church. Thank you so much. It is so wonderful as a Christian, and it's nice that it's Ash Wednesday, but it's wonderful to see my faith in action, and it's just a great thing to see. And you pay for the lunches of so many children who are in my borough, and I just want to thank you on behalf of those families. People make the wrong assumption that a lot of people have money who don't. And when I think of how much lunches cost, even though we try to keep the cost down, if people have more than one child, it can be expensive. Mm-hmm. And I just want to thank you, okay, for what you've done and letting your faith take some wings and really do something about a problem that we have. So bless you for that. I thank you myself. I want to also say thank you to Delegate Jenkins, because what Ms. Jenkins didn't tell you is how we spent our time. We were in the legislature walking around as your legislative subcommittee. We were walking around talking to our legislators on the state level, asking them for things for Suffolk Public Schools. One of the concerns that all of us as educators and advocates have or should have for our legislators who make the laws that we all have to live by and make them work is that many of them are not educators and they don't have education backgrounds and they do not know the day-to-day things that go along with what we have to do. And so when they make the rules, we try to give them the information that they need, and we do have legislators, thank you, Mr. Jenkins, I hope he's listening, who will listen to us and listen to us carefully and ask us questions if there are things that they do not know. And so he sat us down and said, are these things unfunded mandates? Are these things mandates that have money that go along with them? Are these things, if I support them, things that will cost the school system? Are these things that I should ask for? And I'm going to tell you, I, for one, after doing this for several years, this is the 7th year I've tried to do this for Suffolk Public Schools, just to have somebody who was willing to listen, who had the time and took the time to sit down and say, what is this, or what do you think, or whatever. I greatly appreciated it, and he did that. I did have someone with me, but I really think he would have listened with or without the person I had with me. We left that office and we went around to see Senator Louise Lucas, and she sat down with us for about an hour and had us go over bills, write it down, tell me if that's unfunded. She now chairs the Education Subcommittee, so it was really wonderful to have her listen to us, and we could tell her what things we thought were things that needed support. We complained about that retirement thing that you brought up and the fact that the retirement cost for people who are retiring, teachers and people who work for us, just keeps growing. We want to know what can be done about it. And these folks are the people that we need to see face to face. And we need to tell them that when you're voting for things, please consider the fact that even though we get a raise on one hand, when these costs increase, it's like you get $1 in this hand and somebody takes $2 away out of this hand. So it was wonderful to have someone listen to us and talk to us, and we appreciated the time she spent. And we also got a chance to talk to her about other things and things that seem wonderful to support, but to explain that it's great. I think it's wonderful if we could give our elementary teachers 45 minutes of planning time. But now, on the other hand, we need to have you give us some more money, because you need to understand the other 15 minutes we have to have a staff person with the children. So if you give us some more money, that will work. But if you don't give us any money, we don't have a way to make it work. So that was one of the wonderful things that we got a chance to do while we were walking around in the State Department. We also went by Senator Locke's office. We left her a message, and I wanted to tell you that she was not in our office, she was in committee, but she sent me an email to let me know that she got our message and wanted to set up a time for us to talk to her here in her area. So there are people who are listening. I also left there, and I guess maybe a couple of weeks later, I was in Washington, D.C. I met with Bobby Scott's staff. Now, I asked Mrs. Forsman, I guess about 2 years, was it 2 years ago? Maybe 2 years ago, I asked her, I was in special education before 94-142, before the idea and its original, the Education for Handicapped Act. At any rate, the government was supposed to give us a 40% of the cost, and they never did. They've given us a lot less than that, maybe up to 17%. So I started complaining along with other people across the country about getting more money about 3 years ago now. Anyway, Congressman Scott has put forward a bill to ask for that money for us, okay, for school systems. Now that he chairs the Education and Labor Committee, he has put forth a bill to ask that we get that 40%. Now, let me just tell you what that looks like. We spent $24 million 3 years ago. I think Ms. Forsman, correct me if I'm wrong. We spent about $24 million. We got $4 million back from the federal government. We should have gotten over 9, okay? We've spent more since then and gotten about the same amount, same percentage. If we got that money back, that would be over the $5 million we're asking right now. Mm-hmm. Just think in terms of what we could. I got a letter last week or week before last I forwarded to Mrs. Byram and to Dr. Gordon to let them know that I also talked to Senator Warner's office and to talked to Senator Warner last year and Tim Kaine, and this year I talked to their offices because they were in hearings, but talked to their offices. I got a letter from Tim Kaine indicating that he is co-sponsoring a bill in the Senate. So we're making some progress to get us that 40% that we were promised. These are things that I'm working on to advocate for us, and we need your support in supporting them. I just want to tell you, Virginia is trying to move forward, and our folks from Virginia are really representing us in the way that they should. This year they asked me, well, Judith, if you get the money, what could you do? And so, you know, I had a laundry list of things that we could do if we could get the money. But those are things that are going on now, and those are some of the things that we've done. Besides working in schools, I want to tell you that my little second graders at Northern Shores are working with their Chromebooks and really enjoying them. When I come in the morning, they're reading and doing activities with their Chromebooks, and they handle them all by themselves, opening, starting, reading, answering questions, and putting them away when they're told, and they come over and work with my little reading group, so they're having a good time with those things. I want to thank the staff for the work that you've done. These grants are marvelous. I'm still looking forward to playing with the little robots that we have and some of the things that we're doing. And I just want to thank you for the hard work that you do, all of you, teachers and staff and drivers and cafeteria workers and custodians. I really feel blessed, and as Mrs. Jenkins said, this is a great time to be in Suffolk Public Schools. So just keep doing what you're doing. It's really working. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, a few comments from me. We've heard a lot of good things this evening. I want to thank Dr. Buck first for going to the legislature of Virginia and to the federal legislature and working on behalf of special education and a lot of other things. I think some of that is paying off and will help us a great deal if we could recoup some of that money. I think we talked, several people mentioned the fact, and Ms. Story wanted to know when we were going to meet with the city again. We recently had a meeting with the city, of course, a joint meeting discussing the assessment of the school facilities and so forth. That was an excellent meeting, and we will continue to work with the mayor and the city manager and city council on those types of things. I would ask all the board members, you know, I think Ms. Jenkins said, you know, be sure you wear your gear and come out to the meetings when the city council meets. But I would encourage board members to quickly talk to their councilman, talk to the city council, talk to the mayor, vice mayor. Please talk to people concerning this budget. I think Ms. Forsman and her staff have presented it in such a way that is very understandable, and I think that will be of great help. I hope you will give them the idea that this is an investment in the future of Suffolk Public Schools, and explain to them how you see that as an investment for our future. As Ms. Mayo said, we were at Forest Glen yesterday, visited Mr. Bradshaw, and I see him back there this evening. We had a delightful time. She recapped some of the things, and one of the things I asked Mr. Bradshaw about the building, and he said, well, you know, it's an old building. I said, yes, I graduated from this school, so I know it's an old building. I said, I graduated many years ago, and we discussed how small it was comparison to when I was, you know, in high school. But anyway, he did mention, and he did send you a word of encouragement, Mr. Littlefield over there working diligently as I speak. He wanted to let us know the outstanding job that you have done to make his school effective with Chromebooks. And like Ms. Mayo said, the Chromebooks were very evident everywhere we went, and he said they were having a great time, a very successful story he was painting of the Chromebook situation, so I was glad to hear that. We did enjoy a great lunch, and the cafeteria workers were excellent. We enjoyed chatting with them. And some of the other staff that were available. And I just want to commend Dr. Gordon again on an outstanding budget presentation. I look forward to speaking with the city and working with them. I hope that we will be very successful in our endeavors. And that's all of my comments. Looking at the informational items, any questions on those? Anyone? And if there are no other items, meeting is adjourned.
Laughing out loud, man.